Hi guys, welcome back. Now it took me almost 3 years after requesting my EEOC hearing to actually get it, and that gave me plenty of time to wonder what it was going to be like. That's a common question that a lot of you guys have asked me, so today I'm going to try to answer that question. Yours is going to be different than mine, but hopefully this will give you some idea of what to expect. My hearing was pretty short. It only lasted 2 days, plus a short teleconference on day 3. Where my AJ shared what his decision was and what my award was. We got that information in writing a couple weeks later. Before EEOC, my frame of reference for things like hearings and judges was mostly what I'd seen on TV. So I pictured a big courtroom in a federal building with a judge in a long black robe. The reality was a lot more casual than that. My courtroom was actually a conference room at NASA. In the federal process, the agency has to provide the venue. They usually choose what's convenient for them. My AJ wasn't there in person. He was on a video screen at the front of the room. The tables in that conference room were arranged in a U-shape, and on one side sat NASA's attorney and the court reporter. My attorneys and I sat on the opposite side of the U, and the witness stand was a chair in the middle. There were 6 people there for the whole thing. My AJ, the court reporter, NASA's attorney, my 2 attorneys, and me. All the witnesses came in for their testimony and left, including my boss, which was a huge relief. Now, the witnesses usually came in as we were coming back from a break, so there were times when I had to make conversation with people that I really would have rather avoided. Like my boss. Talking to her was awkward, but we were such a small group that not talking to her would have been even more awkward. My husband rode into the facility with me and my attorneys, but he wasn't allowed to be in the room either because he was a witness, so he had to wait in the lobby downstairs. That's something you might want to let your witnesses know. Before the hearing, my AJ actually told me that if I needed to go to the restroom, don't wait for permission, he said, just go and we'll wait for you. That put me at ease, but it also felt great because finally somebody at EEOC was making NASA reasonably accommodate me, if only for 2 days. One of the surprises I got right off the bat was that I wasn't allowed to take my copy of the ROI into the hearing with me. And that was a bummer because I'd spent a lot of time before my hearing making notes about questions that my attorney might want to ask certain witnesses or pieces of evidence she might want to point to with each of the witnesses. We didn't get to use any of that, so if you have things like that, maybe share them with your attorney before the hearing starts. Now, on shows like Law & Order, judges don't question witnesses, but EEOC administrative judges do. My AJ had tons of questions for me, my boss, and the diversity manager. When I was testifying, he asked me, how come you submitted multiple request forms? And I told him because the diversity manager said that my boss was refusing to act on my request until I removed some capital letters. During my boss's testimony, he asked her, why did you make such a big deal over a few capital letters? And she said, I wasn't about to put my signature on something so disrespectful. Next, he showed her a copy of my request form with the all caps and asked her to show him exactly where she had to sign that form. And she couldn't do that because she didn't have to sign it. So much for that excuse. He asked the diversity manager the same thing during her testimony, and she gave him the same excuse that my boss did. And he busted her with it the same way he busted my boss. My AJ was an excellent fact finder, and that made my hearing way more fun than I ever imagined it could be. There were so many moments when he was telling NASA all the things that they refused to hear from me, or making them answer all the questions that they refused to answer for me. That felt just amazing. One of the things that worried me most about my hearing was cross-examination. And like everything else, that wasn't what I expected either. I expected my attorney to hammer NASA's witnesses with a lot of aha, gotcha moments. She didn't do that. She just asked them a lot of technical questions about the process they followed. What did you do? Why did you do that? What did your policy say you should have done? And what about this request form? And this one? And the more questions she asked him about the process, the more clear it became that they didn't follow one. And because she was asking so many technical questions in rapid fire, they didn't have a chance to think about their answers and spin things, so they tripped up a lot. NASA's attorney used a different strategy for cross-examining me. She asked me nasty and derogatory questions about everything from my education to my marriage. Isn't it true that you and your husband were having problems before the discrimination? I think she expected me to get triggered by the question and go off on her, so she could use that against me. But I just answered the question as matter-of-factly as I could. No, that's not a fact. When she couldn't trigger me, she didn't have anything else. And the last thing I want to mention today is what happens when people lie at an EEOC hearing. Not much. My boss and the diversity manager contradicted each other all the time. They even contradicted themselves. To me, that's lying, and lying under oath is perjury. On TV, that's a big deal, but at EEOC, not so much. All they care about is finding out if your employer illegally discriminated. A little perjury is beside the point. In the end, my hearing was a lot of fun. It felt so great watching my attorney and my AJ force NASA to answer all the questions that they would never answer for me. And what felt even better was watching their smug smiles disappear as they realized they messed up and were losing. That was priceless. And I hope one day you all get to see it for yourselves. Meanwhile, I hope some of what I've shared today will help you go into your own hearing a little better prepared and with a little more confidence so you can kick butt and win. I'll see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care and hang in.